Hello there. I'm standing up. I'm standing up. I just watched Dan's video about the alchemist, and I saw I'd written a comment there saying I'll have to come back to this once I've read it, Dan. And I'd read it a long time. I'd read it, and I never came back to the video, but I've just watched it, and it's happening 6 months ago. So when is that? October time or something? But I'm listening to it now, and it's like it's happening now as well. The video, and there's lots of animals in Dan's video that he talks about. Well, there's the bees there, and they're coming back to the hive, and doesn't want to go too near them. And talks about the robin, and the robin being confused about the colours he's wearing, and the adders, 3 different adders. I think one was dead, wasn't it? I don't know if they were all. I don't think they were all dead, but one was dead. So there's lots of animals there. I felt a bit awkward afterwards about the book because I suggested it, didn't I? And I had a really strong reaction to the book in 2 different ways. And when I first started reading the opening chapters, I was saying to my friend, "Oh, this is amazing! I can't believe. I don't know. I'm in some other world here, a slightly altered state or something." But by the end of the book, I had this total antipathy to the book and everything about it, and a kind of a, well, I might as well say the feelings, I might as well say them, a kind of anger or disgust or intense dislike. So I don't know why all that was, but I could say why some of it was. For me personally, is just that, no, I understand it's a story and everything. I felt manipulated by it somehow. But maybe that's not, I mean, I was in a different place mentally that 6 months ago than I am now, I think, or 7 months ago, whenever it was, basing it on Dan's video. And I thought, I can't talk about this because the latter feeling is just, I don't want to spoil it. I feel as though I've got to keep it to myself. These intense feelings, and weirdly, when I started reading it, and I was saying to my friend, this is great, and now the book is not that clear in my mind, but I began to feel that I was being, and this feeds into, so I might edit that bit out, because no, this feeds into, well, I don't know what, I won't use a name, but the video about joining a cult. And I say I won't use a name because there's no, it's under the consortium of misfits. So I'll edit that other bit out that I said. So because it's just under the name consortium of misfits. So, and obviously I know. It's just, what was I saying there? So it comes in. I don't know. I'm not saying it's exactly like that because it's not people. It's a book, isn't it? It's not people, and you're not going somewhere where you've got this sense of a group and they're trying to. Well, I found that fascinating. That talk about the cult, and just being on the edges of it, the peripherals of it, and seeing some of the, I suppose you might call them early signs of it building. Why did I turn on this book? I mean, it was a shortish book, so it wasn't too long to read or anything. Not that that makes a difference. I began to feel it was like a program for life, or a philosophy, or a ideology almost, and that the story was at the service of that, as opposed to the, I don't know if it's a kind of ideal idea, the idea that it's, don't do that to a story or something, that it was a kind of a self-help book in disguise, in a sense, or an idea about how you should be in the world in disguise, in the disguise of a story. I also found some of the ideas in it difficult, and when I was okay when he was doing the early stuff, the boy, and he starts working in that shop with all the crystals in it, gets that job and everything. Yeah, and I'm absolutely fine with unusual things happening and incredible coincidences or fate taking a hand and following this river of this unfolding. He's going there and he loses all the money, trusts someone, he loses it all, but it leads to this, and then that needed to happen in order for him to find this job, in order to him to make the next move, the boy. But I think it was when they got into the desert, for me, when they got into the desert and when they went to that camp, and then there's this war, or there's this fight, isn't there? There's this fight, I think about 400 people get slaughtered or something, and there's people hanging and stuff like that, and there's blood in the sand, and it's all kind of like, oh, it's kismet, and it's all, I don't know, I found it hard to, and I know it's a story, but still, I kind of think, I mean, there's all that massive bloodshed. Not that I'm saying, this is happening in the world all the time, but it just seemed to be kind of philosophized away, or somehow philosophized away. Maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe I just don't accept it. I don't accept that you can philosophize it away. What else happened? Oh, there was something that the alchemist says to the boy about not fearing, about not being in a state of fear, but everything they're doing in terms of, well, you don't see that much of it, but like being careful about the fire, and they take certain pains to avoid being seen as they're traveling. Well, why are they doing that if there's nothing to fear? Because of course there's things to fear. There are things to fear in the world, I'm not saying you've got to be in a state of permanent ultra fear or anything, and I realise that's no good, but it seemed to want its cake and eat it. And then what happened at the end, I won't say that in case some people haven't read it, but that kind of reversal, shall we say, or change, or I won't say what it is because it'll spoil it, but in case somebody hasn't read it, but it really pissed me off. I'm sorry. It really pissed me off. I really enjoyed Dan's video there, because it's sort of, he was talking about the Jungian ways of thinking about it, and projection. I think he mentions the idea, that it's something that you're projecting onto other people, and the link with Lucy Letby, of course, that people are projecting their own fears and failure, a sense of failure, or a sense of that they're going to be blamed, so they'll cast around for someone else to blame. Get in there first, as it were, look for someone to blame, which they certainly did do, Hard to exactly know what's going on in their heads, or each individual head, as things moved forward. And then the power of the group, which then goes back into the video about the cult that just was put up today. The power of the group, it's really strong. And where you are in that group, and the idea that, well, no one's leading it, but yes, there is, kind of, yeah. There is a structure, there is a power structure, and there are expectations built up about behavior, about keeping faith with the group, once you're in it as well, Can you be in it and out of it at the same time? Well, not really, you had these tiny little things from Dr. Gibbs got kind of saying, well, do you think we should be doing this? But it was very tentative, as his more recent statements have been very tentative, but he's still there, still was part of it. So it kind of holds, it grips them, it kind of grips them, this, it's not a folly, I don't think it's a folly, like a folie à deux extended to 4 or 7, I don't think it's that, but anyway, I was talking about this, but the book, and I read another Paulo Coelho book years ago. It was more kind of naturalistic. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. That I kind of backed off it, I've only just watched Dan's video about it. I just felt very conflicted, and I think at that time, last year, I was in a not a great state of mind. I'm slightly better state of mind now, I hope. Inshallah, God willing. I hope so. I mean, I like some of the ideas in the book about some of them, but not all of them. And there was a sense that it was being invited into a totality of the way of thinking about the world. And if you could just do this, if you could just trust, then it would be right. And if it's your time to die, it's your time to die. That kind of kismet idea, I'm not comfortable with, and I think it's like a struggle with a lot of things to do with stuff like karma and, oh well, this is just happening because there's this wheel of, maybe I just don't understand it. And maybe there's a range of views of what that is, and people describe it in different ways. And then you look into like Taoism and stuff like that, and non-interference. Well, everyone, just talking about the Lucy Letby miscarriage of justice, well, we're interfering full on. Oh, we're interfering as much as we can, as much as we're able to. We're trying to interfere a lot, and I think it's right to. Otherwise, kind of become the Eloi in the Time Machine, where somebody's just drowning next to you and you just carry on eating this bit of fruit. I know there's a limit to what we can do, and there's a limit, and we're dealing with power structures. Back to the cult video, we're dealing with power structures that don't even acknowledge what they are. And that was the thing that came up in the video about the cult. This kind of gaslighting trick to say, oh well, no, we're not actually doing this, but we are. Underneath it, everybody knows that you are, and then you're meant to imbibe that you haven't seen it, haven't seen the sleight of hand. That you're no longer meant to trust your gut feeling anymore. You're no longer meant to trust your gut feeling about what is real anymore. So then you have to rely on the group, and then you're at the service of the group at the expense totally of your individuality. And then that's a cult, isn't it? And there are many kinds of cults, maybe they're kind of emerging and going up and down all the time in all kinds of situations. Cult-like thinking or group-like thinking that stops people, the individual's concerns, saying, hold on a minute. I mean, Dr. Saladi, I think he kind of made some noises about that as well, But in the end, none of them, not one of them, was strong enough to pull away explicitly and really take that risk of saying, well, I'm not in this team. I'm not in the gang. I'm an individual, and I'm standing up for, this isn't right. You've gone too far now. At any point in time, and I don't know whether, I wonder if any of their number have considered that now. They think, oh, it's gone so far, I can't do it now. But one would think they're in a kind of, I'm not saying they're in hell, but they're in a kind of, their lives are so utterly compromised and so intrinsically connected and rooted into Lucy Letby's plight and the persecution that she suffered, that one would, I don't know if they feel that, but I think existentially, I think that's the truth. They are. They're all in one sense or other. They're not physically, literally in prison. It's nothing like what Lucy has happened to her. But they're not scot-free, and they never can be. They never can be until, and there should be remorse for the rest of their lives about it. Because there are certain things you can't make up for. But they could do something to turn it around. I hope one of them does. I know this has gone into another subject, but I'm trying to think back to the book now. I mean, yeah. But thank you for listening, and I think I'll leave it there. It's getting a bit long, but dotted over it. I really, I was very affected by the video about the cult, and just watching Dan's video in a different season, both in a different physical season. It looks like autumn there. It's dressed differently, but it's talking about now as well. It's always, as Van Morrison says in one of his songs, it's always being now. It's always being now. And so there we are. So that's, anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. It's weird, isn't it? Take care, everybody, and loving the things that are being put on the consortium and in all different ways, and long live the ghouls and misfits, and the misfits and the ghouls and the consortium thereof. Good night.